Understanding dialectical thinking. At the heart of dialectical behavior therapy lies a powerful way of looking at the world, one that helps us navigate life's complexities with greater ease, dialectical thinking. It's about moving beyond simple answers and embracing the intricate truths that often coexist in our experiences. Instead of feeling forced to choose one side, this approach encourages us to see the whole picture, acknowledging that multiple realities can be valid at the same time. This profound shift in perspective is essential for truly understanding ourselves, our emotions, and the people around us. It lays a crucial foundation for finding emotional balance and navigating the many paradoxes inherent in human existence. Learning to think dialectically is not just a skill, it's a fundamental mindset shift that underpins all the other tools you'll learn in DBT, guiding you toward a more resilient and accepting way of living. The core of dialectical thinking can be summed up with the phrase both and. This concept challenges the common belief that life must always be an either-or scenario, where one truth cancels out another. For instance, you can feel deeply upset about a situation and still hold genuine love for the person involved. Similarly, it's entirely possible to fiercely desire change in your life while simultaneously accepting things exactly as they are in this very moment. This both-and perspective opens up a vast array of new possibilities for understanding and responding to life's challenges. It significantly reduces the intense pressure to pick one extreme, allowing for a much richer and more nuanced comprehension of any given situation. Ultimately, embracing this mindset helps us avoid rigid judgments and fosters a more compassionate outlook. Many of us, often without realizing it, fall into the trap of black and white thinking, categorizing everything as good or bad, right or wrong, always or never. This rigid approach creates a very narrow lens through which we view the world, simplifying complex realities into overly simplistic binaries. Such thinking frequently leads to immense frustration, misunderstanding, and unnecessary conflict in our relationships and within ourselves. Dialectical thinking, however, actively challenges this ingrained rigidity, urging us to consciously seek out and explore the vast gray areas in between the extremes. It encourages us to recognize that very few things in life are absolute or entirely one-sided, a realization that can be profoundly liberating and open new pathways for growth and understanding. The either-or mentality can become a significant emotional trap, limiting our ability to process and move through difficult experiences. For example, if we believe that feeling sad means we cannot also feel grateful, we deny the rich tapestry of human emotion. Or, if we conclude that struggling with a task automatically makes us a failure, we dismiss our efforts and potential for growth. This kind of thinking actively invalidates the complex, multifaceted nature of human experience, forcing us into emotional corners where we feel stuck and unable to progress. It prevents us from seeing potential solutions or pathways to personal development, often leading to feelings of being isolated, misunderstood, or utterly without hope. Furthermore, it severely limits our capacity for genuine compassion, both for ourselves and for those around us. Life itself is inherently full of paradoxes, presenting us with seemingly conflicting desires and realities that must somehow coexist. We often yearn for the comfort of security, yet simultaneously crave the exhilaration of freedom and independence. We seek deep connection with others, while also needing ample space for our individual autonomy and personal growth. Dialectical thinking provides a framework for gracefully holding these seemingly opposite desires and truths within our awareness. It acknowledges that both sides of a paradox can be entirely true and valid without one negating the other. This isn't about contradiction. Rather, it's about recognizing complementary truths that enrich our understanding. Learning to live comfortably with these inherent tensions is a profound mark of emotional maturity, allowing for a richer, more authentic, and deeply experienced life. One of the most powerful and transformative applications of dialectical thinking lies in the delicate balance between self-acceptance and the desire for change. It allows us to hold the profound truth: I accept myself exactly as I am in this moment, and I am committed to growing and improving. This statement, which might initially sound contradictory, is a perfect example of a dialectical truth. True acceptance is never about resignation. Instead, it serves as the stable and compassionate foundation upon which all genuine change can be built. Without first accepting where you currently are, it becomes incredibly difficult to truly move forward or implement lasting transformation. This mindset effectively removes the harsh self-judgment and criticism that so often block our progress, fostering a much more compassionate and effective approach to personal development, allowing for gentle evolution rather than aggressive self-correction. When we consciously adopt a dialectical way of thinking, a natural and beautiful consequence is a significant reduction in judgment, both of ourselves and of others. This expanded perspective allows us to view people and situations with far more nuance, recognizing the intricate layers that make up every experience. For instance, we can acknowledge that a person might make a significant mistake and still remain a fundamentally good and well-intentioned individual. Similarly, a challenging situation can be undeniably difficult and simultaneously hold valuable opportunities for profound learning and personal growth. This more inclusive perspective naturally cultivates a deeper sense of empathy, helping us to genuinely understand the complex motivations and circumstances that shape others' actions. Consequently, it significantly reduces feelings of anger and frustration within our relationships, fostering a more understanding, forgiving, and ultimately more peaceful heart. Emotional dysregulation, which involves intense and often overwhelming emotional responses, frequently stems from rigid, all-or-nothing thinking patterns. For example, someone might believe, if I feel even a little sad, I must be completely overwhelmed and incapable of functioning. Dialectical thinking offers a crucial alternative by creating space for mixed emotions to coexist simultaneously. You can experience intense anger about an injustice and also hold a quiet sense of hope for resolution. This ability to acknowledge and tolerate multiple, sometimes conflicting emotions prevents them from spiraling out of control and consuming you entirely. It provides a vital mental and emotional space for different feelings to exist side by side, helping us to ride the natural waves of our emotions without getting completely swept away. This understanding reminds us that emotions are fluid, temporary, and multifaceted, not singular, all-encompassing states. Effective interpersonal relationships are built upon a foundation of mutual understanding, respect, and flexibility, all of which are profoundly enhanced by dialectical thinking. This approach empowers us to validate another person's perspective, even when it differs from our own, allowing us to say, I genuinely hear and understand your point of view, and I also have my own valid feelings and experiences. It fosters an environment where compromise and mutual respect can flourish, moving beyond competitive arguments where each person feels compelled to be right. Instead, dialectical thinking encourages a collaborative approach to resolving conflicts, helping us to genuinely see the validity in differing opinions and find common ground. Ultimately, this skill strengthens bonds by embracing individual differences as enriching rather than divisive, leading to more harmonious and fulfilling connections. Dialectical principles are not merely abstract concepts. They are woven into the very fabric of nature and life itself, readily observable all around us. Consider the cycle of day and night, the rhythmic ebb and flow of the tides, or the natural processes of growth and decay. These aren't just opposites that cancel each other out. Rather, they are complementary parts of a larger interconnected whole, each essential for the other's existence. Learning to recognize and appreciate this natural rhythm within our own lives can be incredibly insightful. It helps us understand that life is a constant, dynamic interplay of change and stability, challenge and repose. This broader, more integrated view often helps to put our personal struggles into a much larger perspective, connecting us to a universal, more integrated reality where balance is found within ongoing movement. Practicing dialectical thinking is not solely a philosophical exercise. It is a highly practical skill that can be cultivated and strengthened through daily effort. Begin by becoming more aware of instances when your thoughts default to either-or language, perhaps mentally labeling situations or people as entirely good or entirely bad. Once you notice this pattern, consciously challenge yourself to identify the both-and truths within that same situation. For example, you might think, This task is incredibly hard, and I possess the capability to learn and persevere through it. Shifting these ingrained thinking patterns requires consistent, conscious effort, but with regular practice, it will gradually become a more natural and automatic way of processing information. Start applying this skill in small, low-stakes situations first, and then progressively extend it to more challenging emotional scenarios as your confidence grows. Many societal norms and cultural narratives often inadvertently encourage dichotomous thinking, presenting concepts like good versus evil or success versus failure as mutually exclusive categories. Dialectical thinking, however, actively invites us to question these rigid classifications and look beyond simplistic labels. It encourages a deeper level of critical thought and fosters a truly open-minded approach to understanding complex issues, whether personal or societal. This perspective allows for a far more nuanced understanding of complicated social problems, helping us resist the urge to accept overly simplistic explanations. By embracing dialectical thought, we empower ourselves to see the intricate interconnectedness of various elements, becoming more adept at navigating a world that thrives on complexity rather than succumbing to its challenges. Beyond simply holding two truths in your mind, the ultimate aim of dialectical thinking is to find a synthesis, a new understanding that emerges when both perspectives are acknowledged as valid. This isn't about choosing one side over the other, but about integrating them to create something novel and more complete from seemingly opposing ideas. This synthesis often leads to highly creative solutions, profound insights, and a deeper, richer comprehension of reality. It's a dynamic and ongoing process, not a static conclusion or a one-time answer. We are constantly looking for the third way or the integrated solution that honors all existing truths. This active integration is precisely where true personal growth and innovative problem-solving occur, transforming potential conflict into powerful opportunities for advancement. Embracing dialectical thinking can be an incredibly liberating experience, profoundly shifting how you interact with yourself and the world. It frees us from the oppressive tyranny of perfectionism and the burden of rigid expectations, allowing for greater self-compassion. This expanded minds, it makes it much easier to forgive ourselves and others more readily, understanding that imperfections are part of the human condition. It significantly reduces the intense pressure to always be right or perfectly consistent in every aspect of our lives. Instead, it opens the door wide to greater flexibility, adaptability, and resilience, which are crucial for navigating an ever-changing world with more grace and ease. Ultimately, dialectical thinking cultivates a profound sense of peace amidst life's inherent complexities, offering a clear pathway to a more balanced, fulfilling, and authentic existence. Understanding dialectical thinking is not just an introductory concept in DBT. It is the fundamental philosophical backbone that supports every other skill you will learn. This mindset underpins essential techniques like validation, where you learn to accept another person's reality and simultaneously honor your own experiences. It's crucial for effective problem solving, as it teaches you to radically accept a problem exactly as it is and then actively work towards changing it. Even radical acceptance itself relies on this principle, encouraging you to accept what is beyond your control and still strive to build a life worth living. This pervasive mindset is intricately woven into every single module of this workbook, making it more than just a concept. It's a dynamic way of engaging with all the skills. Mastering this perspective will significantly enhance your ability to effectively apply all DBT tools, empowering your journey to lasting emotional well-being. Validation strategies. Validation is a cornerstone of dialectical behavior therapy, but it's often misunderstood. Many people think validation means agreeing with someone or even condoning their behavior, but that's not the case at all. Instead, validation is about acknowledging and accepting another person's feelings, thoughts, and behaviors as understandable in their current situation, even if you don't personally agree with them. It's about communicating that their experience makes sense, given their perspective and what they're going through. When we validate someone, we're essentially saying, I hear you, I see you, and I understand why you might feel that way. This simple act can be incredibly powerful, creating a sense of safety and connection that is vital for emotional well-being and healthy relationships. It helps to calm intense emotions and opens the door for more productive communication. Imagine feeling upset or overwhelmed, only to have someone dismiss your feelings with phrases like, "You're overreacting," or "It's not that big a deal." Such responses often lead to increased frustration, anger, or a sense of isolation. Now consider the alternative. Someone listens intently, perhaps nods, and then says, "That sounds incredibly frustrating. I can see why you'd feel so angry about that." The difference is profound. Being truly understood is a fundamental human need, and when that need is met, it can significantly reduce the intensity of difficult emotions. Validation doesn't magically solve the problem, but it creates the emotional space for solutions to emerge. It tells the person that their internal experience is legitimate, which is a powerful antidote to feeling alone or judged. In our relationships, validation acts like a powerful lubricant, smoothing over potential friction and strengthening bonds. Whether it's with a partner, family member, friend, or coworker, the ability to validate another person's experience can de-escalate conflicts before they spiral out of control. When someone feels heard and understood, they are far less likely to become defensive or shut down. Instead, they become more open to hearing your perspective and engaging in collaborative problem solving. This isn't about giving in or letting others walk all over you. It's about building a foundation of mutual respect and empathy. By validating, you're building trust and showing that you value the other person's internal world, even when it differs from your own. While validating others is crucial, the concept of self-validation is equally, if not more, important for your own emotional health. Just as we seek understanding from others, we also need to offer that same understanding to ourselves. Self-validation means acknowledging your own thoughts, feelings, and actions as understandable and acceptable, given your own experiences and current circumstances. It's about treating yourself with the same compassion and empathy you would offer a dear friend. When you experience intense emotions like sadness, anger, or anxiety, instead of judging yourself, "I shouldn't feel this way," self-validation involves saying, "It makes sense that I feel sad right now because reason." This internal acceptance can prevent feelings from intensifying and helps you move forward with greater self-compassion. To effectively practice validation, it's helpful to understand that it exists on a spectrum, with different levels of engagement and depth. You don't always need to go to the deepest level, as the appropriate level often depends on the situation and the relationship. Thinking about validation in levels can make it feel less daunting and more actionable, allowing you to choose the strategy that best fits the moment. From simply paying attention to deeply empathizing, each level serves a unique purpose in communicating understanding and acceptance. We will explore these levels one by one, giving you concrete tools to apply in your daily life and interactions. The most basic, yet incredibly vital, form of validation is active listening. This level is about truly paying attention to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally, without interrupting or formulating your response. It involves giving your full presence, making eye contact, nodding occasionally, and using small verbal affirmations like or "I see." The goal here is simply to take in the information, demonstrating that you are engaged and present in the conversation. Active listening shows respect and creates a receptive environment, signaling to the other person that their words matter and you are willing to hear them out. This foundational step is often all that's needed to make someone feel acknowledged. Moving a step further, Level 2 validation involves reflecting back what you hear the other person say. This isn't about parroting their exact words, but rather summarizing or paraphrasing their main points and feelings in your own words. For example, if someone says, "I'm so tired of constantly being overlooked for promotions at work," you might respond with, "It sounds like you're feeling a deep sense of frustration and perhaps unfairness about your career progression." This technique serves two main purposes. It confirms to the speaker that you accurately heard and understood their message, and it also gives them an opportunity to correct you if you misunderstood. This feedback loop is crucial for clear communication and building a shared understanding. Level 3 validation requires a bit more intuition and observation, as it involves articulating what might be felt, but not explicitly said. This means paying close attention to body language, tone of voice, and any underlying emotions that seem to be present beneath the surface words. For instance, if a friend is talking about a difficult situation in a very calm voice, but their hands are clenched, you might say, "You're speaking very calmly, but I wonder if there's also a lot of anger or tension bubbling underneath." This level shows a deeper understanding and empathy, as you're recognizing the full scope of their experience, not just what they're verbally expressing. It can make someone feel profoundly seen and understood, even when they haven't found the words themselves. At level 4, validation connects the current feelings or behaviors to past experiences, showing how their present reaction makes sense given their history. This requires some knowledge of the person's background or a willingness to ask gentle questions. For example, if someone is highly anxious about a job interview and you know they had a traumatic past experience with public speaking, you might say, "Given how difficult your past experience with presentations was, it makes complete sense that you're feeling really nervous about this interview now." This level helps the person understand that their current reaction isn't random or wrong, but rather a natural, albeit perhaps unhelpful, response based on their life journey. It normalizes their feelings by placing them in a meaningful context. Level 5 validation focuses on the immediate context, acknowledging that someone's feelings are a reasonable response to their current situation, even if that situation seems minor to an outsider. This level emphasizes that their internal experience is valid in the here and now. For example, if a friend is upset about a canceled plan, you could say, "It's totally understandable that you're disappointed. You were really looking forward to that, and it's frustrating when things don't go as planned." This type of validation doesn't judge the size of the problem, but rather affirms the person's right to feel what they feel, given the specific circumstances they are facing. It helps them feel less alone in their immediate distress. The deepest and most profound level of validation is radical genuineness. This involves treating the other person as a fully capable and equal human being, openly communicating your own genuine reactions and feelings within appropriate boundaries. It means being authentic and transparent, showing them that you see them as a whole person, not just someone with a problem to be fixed. For example, you might say, "I'm really struggling to understand why this is so hard for you, but I see how much pain you're in, and I'm here for you." This level requires a high degree of trust and vulnerability from both sides, and it's often reserved for very close relationships or therapeutic settings. When done effectively, it communicates profound respect and acceptance. While validation is a powerful tool, there are common mistakes that can inadvertently invalidate someone. One major pitfall is minimizing their experience with phrases like, "It's not that bad," or "You'll get over it." Another is trying to fix the problem immediately without first validating their feelings. People often need to feel heard before they can consider solutions. Avoid judgmental language, comparisons to others, "At least you don't have it as bad as," or trying to cheer them up prematurely. These responses, though sometimes well-intentioned, can make the other person feel misunderstood, dismissed, or even guilty for having their feelings, undermining the very goal of validation. It's crucial to consistently remember that validation is not agreement. You can validate someone's feelings, thoughts, or actions without agreeing with them or approving of their behavior. For instance, you can validate a child's anger about not getting a toy. "I can see you're really angry right now because you want that toy so badly," without agreeing to buy the toy or condoning a tantrum. The key is to acknowledge the internal experience as understandable, not necessarily to endorse the external action or the content of their belief. This distinction is vital for maintaining your own boundaries and values while still offering empathy and understanding to others. Like any skill, mastering validation takes consistent practice. It won't feel natural or easy at first, especially if you're accustomed to offering advice or immediately trying to solve problems. Start small by consciously practicing active listening in your daily conversations. Then gradually work on reflecting back what you hear And eventually, try to articulate unspoken feelings. Don't get discouraged if you don't get it right every time. The intention to understand is often felt and appreciated, even if your words aren't perfectly phrased. Each attempt is a step towards becoming a more empathetic and effective communicator, both with others and with yourself. The rewards of integrating validation into your life are truly significant. For starters, it leads to improved communication as people feel safer and more willing to express themselves openly. This, in turn, can significantly reduce conflict, transforming arguments into opportunities for deeper understanding. Stronger, more resilient relationships are a natural outcome, built on a foundation of mutual respect and empathy. Furthermore, practicing self-validation fosters greater self-compassion, reduces self-judgment, and enhances your overall emotional regulation. You'll find yourself better equipped to navigate your own emotional landscape and support others through theirs. Ready to put these strategies into action? Begin by choosing one person in your life you'd like to practice with, perhaps a family member or close friend. During your next conversation, make a conscious effort to simply listen without interrupting, using Level 1 active listening. Once you feel comfortable with that, try to reflect back what you hear them say, perhaps starting with phrases like, "So, if I'm understanding correctly, you're feeling X because Y." Remember to focus on understanding their perspective, not on fixing their problem. Start small, be patient with yourself, and celebrate every moment you successfully connect through understanding. Validation isn't just a standalone technique, it's a foundational principle that underpins many other DBT skills. When you can validate your own intense emotions, it becomes easier to apply distress tolerance techniques without getting caught in a cycle of self-criticism. When you can validate another person's perspective, it smooths the path for interpersonal effectiveness skills, allowing for more productive negotiation and boundary setting. Even radical acceptance, which we'll discuss later, becomes more accessible when you first validate the pain and difficulty of your current reality. It's the glue that holds emotional understanding and skillful action together. Ultimately, validation is more than just a communication strategy. It's a way of being in the world that fosters connection, empathy, and emotional resilience. It empowers you to create relationships where everyone feels heard and respected, and it equips you with the internal resources to navigate your own emotional challenges with kindness. By mastering these validation strategies, you're not just learning a DBT skill. You're cultivating a deeper sense of humanity and building a more balanced, fulfilling life for yourself and those around you. Embrace the power of understanding and watch how your world transforms. Problem solving with DBT life is constantly throwing challenges our way, some small and easily brushed off, others feeling like massive boulders blocking our path. When we're caught in the grip of intense emotions, these problems can seem even more overwhelming, almost impossible to tackle. This is where the practical tools of dialectical behavior therapy really shine, offering a structured yet flexible approach to moving through difficult situations. It's not about ignoring your feelings or pretending everything is fine. Instead, DBT helps you acknowledge your emotional experience while simultaneously working towards a solution. You learn to navigate the storm of your emotions without letting them completely derail your ability to think clearly and act effectively. This balanced strategy allows you to approach problems from a place of strength rather than being swept away by distress. So, let's explore how you can harness DBT principles to become a more effective problem solver in your own life. Traditional problem solving often focuses solely on the logical steps, overlooking the powerful role our emotions play in the process. Think about it. When you're feeling incredibly angry, anxious, or sad, how easy is it to sit down and logically figure out a solution to a complex issue? Not very, right? DBT recognizes this inherent challenge and integrates emotional regulation and mindfulness directly into the problem-solving framework. It encourages you to first get a handle on your emotional state, even just a little, before diving headfirst into finding answers. This foundational step ensures that your problem-solving efforts are guided by a clearer mind, not just the impulsive reactions of heightened feelings. By doing so, you increase your chances of finding solutions that are not only practical, but also sustainable and aligned with your long-term goals. One of the most powerful aspects of DBT that informs problem solving is dialectical thinking. This concept encourages us to move beyond rigid either-or thinking, which can often trap us when facing a problem. Instead of seeing only two opposing sides or believing there's only one right way to do things, dialectics invites us to consider the both and. It means accepting that two seemingly contradictory ideas can both be true at the same time. For instance, you might be upset about a situation and still capable of finding a workable solution. Or you might acknowledge a problem is difficult and believe you have the skills to address it. This expansive mindset opens up a much wider range of possibilities, helping you escape the mental ruts that often lead to feelings of hopelessness. It allows for creativity and flexibility, which are absolutely essential when you're trying to navigate complex personal challenges. When you approach a problem from a dialectical perspective, you learn to see the nuances, the shades of gray, rather than just black and white. This can be incredibly liberating, especially when you feel stuck between two seemingly impossible choices. Maybe you feel like you have to choose between your own needs and someone else's, or between accepting a difficult reality and fighting against it. Dialectical thinking helps you consider how you might meet both needs, or how you can accept what is while also working to change what can be changed. It's about finding a synthesis, a new way forward that respects all valid perspectives involved, including your own emotional experience. This skill is truly transformative, allowing you to unlock creative solutions you might never have considered before. Before you even begin to brainstorm solutions, it's crucial to understand how your emotions are influencing your perception of the problem itself. When we're distressed, our minds often exaggerate the difficulties, minimize our abilities, or jump to worst-case scenarios. This emotional filter can make a manageable issue feel monumental, clouding our judgment and making effective problem-solving feel out of reach. DBT teaches us to pause, observe our emotions without judgment, and use skills like mindfulness or distress tolerance to bring down the intensity. By doing so, you create a little bit of space between yourself and your emotional reaction, allowing for a more objective assessment of the situation. This isn't about suppressing your feelings, but rather about managing them so they don't hijack your ability to think rationally and creatively. Imagine trying to navigate a dense fog. It's hard to see where you're going, and every step feels uncertain. Intense emotions can act like that fog, obscuring the path to a solution. By employing emotion regulation skills, you start to clear that fog, making the landscape of your problem much clearer. This might involve deep breathing, engaging in a distracting activity, or even practicing self-soothing techniques to calm your nervous system. Once your emotional arousal has decreased, even slightly, you'll find it much easier to define the problem accurately, consider different viewpoints, and weigh the pros and cons of various actions. This thoughtful approach, grounded in emotional awareness and management, sets the stage for much more effective and successful problem solving. The first concrete step in problem solving with DBT is to clearly and specifically define the problem you're facing. This might sound obvious, but it's often where people get stuck. We tend to describe problems in vague, general terms like, I'm always stressed, or my relationships are a mess. However, a vague problem leads to vague solutions. Instead, try to pinpoint the exact situation, behavior, or thought pattern that is causing distress. Ask yourself, what exactly is happening? Who is involved? Where and when does it occur? What are the specific consequences? The more precise you can be in describing the problem, the more targeted and effective your solutions can become. Think of it like a detective gathering clues. Precision is key to solving the case. When defining the problem, it's also important to focus on observable facts rather than interpretations or judgments. For example, instead of saying, my friend is always rude to me, try to describe the specific actions. When I share my feelings, my friend often interrupts me and changes the subject. This shift from judgment to observation is crucial because you can't change someone else's rudeness, but you can address a specific behavior like interrupting. Furthermore, try to frame the problem in terms of something you actually have some control over. even if it's just your own reaction or your approach to the situation. This empowers you to take action rather than feeling like a helpless victim of circumstances. A well-defined problem is half the battle won, as it provides a clear target for your efforts. Once the problem is clearly defined, the next step is to brainstorm as many potential solutions as you can, without any judgment. This is a time for creativity and quantity over quality. Don't worry about whether an idea is good or bad, realistic or silly. Just get everything down on paper. Think outside the box and consider unconventional approaches. You might even invite a trusted friend or family member to help you brainstorm, as fresh perspectives can often spark new ideas. The goal here is to generate a diverse list of possibilities, expanding your mental landscape beyond the obvious or habitual responses. Remember, sometimes the most unexpected idea can turn out to be the most effective solution in the long run. During this brainstorming phase, try to suspend your inner critic completely. That little voice that says, "That won't work," or "That's a stupid idea," needs to take a break. Allow yourself the freedom to explore every avenue, no matter how outlandish it might initially seem. Sometimes, even a seemingly ridiculous idea can lead to a more practical one when you break it down or combine it with another concept. This open-minded approach is a direct application of dialectical thinking, as it encourages you to hold multiple possibilities in your mind simultaneously. Don't censor yourself. Simply list everything that comes to mind, creating a rich pool of potential actions from which to draw. The more options you have, the better your chances of finding a truly effective way forward. With a comprehensive list of potential solutions in hand, the next critical step is to evaluate each one. This isn't about judgment in the negative sense, but rather a thoughtful consideration of the potential consequences of each action. For each solution, take a moment to weigh the pros and cons. What are the potential positive outcomes if you choose this path? What are the potential negative outcomes or risks? Consider both the short-term and long-term effects, not just for yourself, but also for others who might be involved. This systematic evaluation helps you move beyond impulsive decisions driven by emotion and instead choose a path that is more likely to lead to a desirable and sustainable outcome. It's about being strategic and mindful in your choices. When evaluating solutions, it's also helpful to consider the feasibility of each option. Do you have the necessary resources, time, and energy to implement this solution? Is it something truly within your control, or does it rely too heavily on factors outside your influence? Be honest with yourself about what is genuinely possible given your current circumstances. Sometimes, a solution might sound perfect in theory, but be completely impractical in reality. Ranking solutions based on their potential effectiveness, feasibility, and alignment with your values can also be a useful exercise. This careful assessment helps you prioritize and narrow down your options, moving you closer to selecting the most appropriate course of action for your specific problem. After thoroughly evaluating your options, it's time to choose the solution that seems most promising and create a concrete plan for its implementation. This isn't always easy, and it might involve some discomfort or uncertainty. However, the work you've done in defining the problem and evaluating solutions will provide a solid foundation for your decision. Once you've made your choice, break down the chosen solution into smaller, manageable steps. What's the very first thing you need to do? What comes next? Having a clear action plan makes the task less daunting and increases the likelihood that you'll actually follow through. Remember, even a small step forward is progress, and taking that initial action can build momentum and confidence. Commitment to your chosen solution is key, but it's also important to hold that commitment with a sense of flexibility. Life rarely goes exactly according to plan, and you might encounter unexpected obstacles or discover that your initial solution isn't working as well as you hoped. This is where your DBT skills, particularly distress tolerance, might come into play. Be prepared to tolerate some discomfort or frustration as you implement your plan. Don't let minor setbacks derail your entire effort. Instead, view them as opportunities to learn and adjust. Your willingness to stay committed while remaining adaptable is a powerful combination that significantly boosts your problem-solving capabilities. It's about persistence and resilience, knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. The final, yet often overlooked step in the problem-solving process is to review the outcome and adjust your approach as needed. Once you've implemented your chosen solution, take some time to assess its effectiveness. Did it actually solve the problem? Did it create any new problems? What did you learn from the experience? Be honest with yourself about what worked well and what didn't. This reflective practice is invaluable for refining your problem-solving skills over time. If the solution wasn't as effective as you hoped, that's perfectly okay. It's simply an opportunity to go back to your brainstormed list, choose another option, or even redefine the problem with new insights. This iterative process allows for continuous improvement and ensures you're always learning. Think of problem solving as an ongoing cycle, not a one-and-done event. Each attempt, whether fully successful or not, provides valuable data and strengthens your ability to navigate future challenges. Don't be afraid to experiment and be willing to change course if something isn't yielding the desired results. This flexibility is a hallmark of effective problem solving and aligns perfectly with the dynamic nature of DBT. By consistently reviewing and adjusting, you ensure that your approach remains responsive to the real-world outcomes, making you a more agile and resourceful individual in the face of life's inevitable difficulties. Every challenge becomes a chance to practice and hone these crucial life skills. It's also important to acknowledge that not every problem has a perfect solution, or sometimes no solution at all within your control. This is where the skill of radical acceptance, which we'll explore in the next section, becomes incredibly important. While DBT encourages active problem solving, it also teaches us the wisdom of knowing when to let go and accept what cannot be changed. Sometimes, the most effective solution is to radically accept the reality of a situation and shift your focus from changing it to changing your relationship with it. This doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over persistent struggle against an unchangeable truth. It's a powerful and often overlooked aspect of true problem solving. Learning to distinguish between problems you can solve and those you need to accept is a high-level DBT skill that brings immense relief. You don't have to carry the burden of trying to fix everything. By thoughtfully applying the problem-solving steps, you empower yourself to take effective action where it's possible. Simultaneously, by understanding the limits of your control, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of fighting against what is. This creates a profound sense of balance, allowing you to direct your energy towards what truly matters and what can genuinely be influenced. This balanced approach is the essence of living a life worth living, even when faced with significant challenges. Ultimately, problem solving with DBT isn't just about finding answers. It's about developing a robust set of skills that empower you to approach life's difficulties with greater confidence and effectiveness. By integrating emotional awareness, dialectical thinking, and a structured approach, you transform challenges from overwhelming obstacles into opportunities for growth. You learn to navigate complex situations, manage your emotional reactions, and make choices that align with your values and goals. This systematic yet compassionate method equips you with the tools to not only overcome specific problems, but also to build a more resilient and fulfilling life overall. The journey might not always be easy, but with these skills, you're well prepared for whatever comes next. Radical acceptance in practice. Stepping into the world of radical acceptance might feel like a huge leap, especially when facing situations that bring intense pain or discomfort. It's one thing to understand the concept of accepting reality as it is, but quite another to actually put it into practice when your deepest emotions are screaming for things to be different. This isn't about giving up or saying you like what's happening. Instead, it's about acknowledging the undeniable truth of a moment, a circumstance, or a feeling, regardless of how much you wish it weren't so. Think of it as releasing the struggle against what you cannot change right now, allowing yourself to breathe and find a new path forward. Many people initially confuse radical acceptance with resignation, as if accepting a painful reality means you're just passively letting bad things happen without trying to make them better. However, this couldn't be further from the truth, as true radical acceptance is an active choice, a conscious turning of your mind towards what is, not what you wish it would be. It doesn't mean you approve of an injustice or that you're happy with a loss. It simply means you are no longer fighting the fact that it has already occurred or is currently occurring. This crucial distinction frees up immense energy that was previously tied up in resisting the unchangeable, paving the way for more effective action later on. One of the first practical steps in cultivating radical acceptance involves a deep dive into mindfulness, specifically observing and describing the reality you are struggling with. This means noticing the facts of the situation without immediately layering on judgment, blame, or emotional reactions. For instance, if a friend cancels plans last minute, simply observe. My friend canceled our plans. Avoid adding, they always do this, and it's so disrespectful at this initial stage. This objective observation helps you clearly see what needs accepting, rather than getting lost in the stories and assumptions your mind might create around it. After observing the reality, the next vital step is to acknowledge the pain that comes with it, allowing yourself to feel the emotions without trying to push them away or numb them. It's natural to feel sadness, anger, fear, or disappointment when facing something difficult or unwanted. Resisting these feelings only amplifies them, creating what DBT calls secondary suffering, which is the suffering caused by our reaction to the original pain. By gently allowing yourself to feel the natural human response to a tough situation, you start to build a bridge towards acceptance, recognizing that the pain is a valid part of your experience. A powerful technique in practice is to turn the mind towards acceptance, which means making a conscious and deliberate choice to accept something you have been resisting. This isn't a one-time decision. It often requires repeatedly redirecting your thoughts and intentions towards acceptance whenever you notice yourself fighting against reality. Imagine your mind as a steering wheel. When you find yourself veering into denial or resistance, gently but firmly steer it back towards acknowledging what is. This consistent mental effort helps rewire your brain over time, making acceptance a more automatic response. To truly embody radical acceptance, you can also engage in physical practice, using your body to signal acceptance to your mind. This might involve relaxing your muscles, unclenching your jaw, softening your gaze, or adopting an open posture. Sometimes simply taking a few deep, calming breaths can help ground you in the present moment and reduce the physical tension that often accompanies resistance. By aligning your physical state with your intention to accept, you can create a more holistic experience of letting go and finding peace within the difficult situation. Another practical method is to use affirming statements and internal dialogue that support acceptance. Instead of repeating phrases like, "This shouldn't be happening," try internalizing, "This is happening, and I can cope with it," or "I accept this reality, even if I don't like it." These statements aren't about denying your feelings, but about redirecting your inner narrative towards a more helpful and realistic perspective. Over time, consistently using such affirmations can shift your mindset, making it easier to navigate challenging situations with greater calm and resilience. Radical acceptance becomes particularly crucial when dealing with situations that are truly unchangeable, such as the loss of a loved one, a chronic illness, or past events that cannot be undone. In these instances, fighting against reality only prolongs suffering and prevents healing. While the pain of these situations is immense and valid, accepting their permanence allows you to eventually move through grief and find ways to build a meaningful life despite the circumstances. It's about finding peace not by changing the past, but by changing your relationship to it in the present. This skill is also incredibly useful when facing the choices and behaviors of others that you cannot control, even if they deeply impact you. Whether it's a family member's addiction, a friend's consistent lateness, or a colleague's difficult personality, radical acceptance means acknowledging their autonomy and their actions, even when they cause you distress. It doesn't mean you have to tolerate abusive behavior or stay in unhealthy relationships. It simply means accepting that you cannot force another person to be different, allowing you to then make wise choices about your own boundaries and actions. It's important to remember that radical acceptance is a process, not a destination, and it often requires repeated effort, especially when confronting deeply painful realities. You might find yourself accepting a situation one day, only to struggle with it again the next. This back and forth is completely normal and part of the human experience. Each time you consciously choose to turn your mind towards acceptance, you are strengthening that mental muscle, making it a little easier for the next time. Be patient and compassionate with yourself throughout this journey. One of the most significant benefits of consistently practicing radical acceptance is the reduction of suffering, particularly the secondary suffering caused by fighting against reality. When you stop expending energy on wishing things were different, you free up mental and emotional resources that can then be used for more constructive purposes, such as problem-solving what can be changed, engaging in self-care, or pursuing activities that bring you joy. It allows you to move from a state of constant internal battle to one of greater peace and effectiveness. You might encounter common pitfalls when trying to practice this skill, such as self-blame or getting stuck on shoulds. I should have done things differently, or things shouldn't be this way. When these thoughts arise, gently acknowledge them without judgment, and then consciously redirect your mind back to the present reality. Remind yourself that blame doesn't change what has happened, and focusing on shoulds only creates more resistance to the facts. This gentle redirection is key to staying on the path of acceptance. Radical acceptance works hand in hand with other DBT skills, particularly distress tolerance. When you find yourself in an intensely painful situation that cannot be changed in the moment, radical acceptance provides the foundational mindset to tolerate that distress without making things worse. It allows you to ride the wave of intense emotion, knowing that, even if you don't like the situation, you are choosing not to add to your suffering by fighting against it. This synergy makes your overall DBT practice much more powerful and effective. Begin your practice with smaller, less overwhelming situations to build your confidence and skill. Perhaps it's accepting a traffic jam, a rainy day when you wanted sunshine, or a minor personal disappointment. By successfully applying radical acceptance to these smaller challenges, you train your mind and body to respond with less resistance when larger, more significant difficulties arise. Each small victory reinforces your ability to cope and accept, preparing you for life's inevitable bigger storms. Finally, remember to approach your practice of radical acceptance with a deep sense of self-compassion. Learning to accept difficult realities is incredibly challenging and can bring up a lot of intense emotions. There will be days when it feels impossible and moments when you slip back into resistance. Instead of judging yourself for these struggles, offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend. This gentle approach fosters a supportive inner environment, making it easier to persevere and grow in your ability to embrace reality exactly as it is.